It is another episode of the Cinnamon.
Really? Has time gone by?
Time has gone by, yes. Time after time, things go by. So we're here. We're back with episode, Doug, you're always telling me I'm one off on my numbering.
14.
Episode 14 of the
You always
Cinnamon.
forget about the primer episode. I think it just took too much out of you.
Oh, yes, that's right. I keep going back in time and messing up the numbering scheme for these. This is why I'm...
Time after time.
Time after time.
After
time after time.
Time after time.
Is that song in Napoleon Dynamite when they're dancing at the high school dance or whatever?
No idea. I actually haven't seen Napoleon Dynamite.
Oh, well, then somebody's got a challenge coming.
Oh, man.
I feel like this is a
I
show
do
where
not
you...
want to vote for Pedro.
This is a show where you do not reveal what you have not seen because it can be weaponized against you.
Shit. That is true, though. But but this is why we do the challenge. It's a challenge to not only fill gaps in our cinematic viewing, as well as to perhaps get us out of our comfort zone.
Yeah, you gotta get. Did you purposely avoid Napoleon Dynamite?
Not on purpose. I was working at Kiss 95.1 and K1047 when that came out, so I should have seen it, but for some reason I didn't pull the assignment, and because we, as street team folks, we would go out and hand out stuff and whatever else, and it just got... Have you ever had a movie come out that was just so discussed, so beloved, so everywhere that you went, I can't, no, I have no part of this?
No.
Like Avatar was just on it. There was a whole episode of Bones centered around Avatar just because one of the guest actors who frequented Bones as an intern was in the movie. And it just got to a point where it was like, okay, Avatar, I no longer want to see you. You are saturating the market. So
no, I'm the exact opposite. I'm like, why is everybody talking about this? I better go find out why everybody's so fascinated with it. For me, it's curiosity. I have a friend, my best friend, who's like that. If something hits and hits big, Game of Thrones is a perfect example. It was everywhere. It flooded the markets immediately and social medias immediately. And he was like, why? Why are you people so fascinated with this show? I refuse to watch this show. He was obstinate about it. And then, of course, like he's done time after time, he finally sits down and watches it. And he's like, oh, my God, this is amazing. But we'd already moved on to something else. We were already talking about something else 6 months down the road. He's like, who wants to talk Thrones? And I'm like, oh, that was a 6 months ago conversation, buddy. You're fucked on this one.
Well,
over and over again. He's all late to the game.
I wouldn't say that I would be so obstinate as to never watch a thing. It's just sometimes it just comes up, and as I always say, you can't watch everything. But at the same time, it's just, okay, I think I need a break from hearing about you. I'm going to do another thing. I'll come back to it eventually. And I just never came back to it.
All right, then.
But I do know, at least for the people that I worked with, that they loved it. We had the Vote for Pedro shirts.
Yeah.
I heard nothing about it. And the cast in it's great. I've seen them do other stuff.
Well, and John Heaton, not so much.
Well, he was recently in When Jeff Tried to Save the World. It was quite good.
Okay.
Indie film. Quite good.
There you go.
Yeah. Streaming on Prime Video, I think.
Is it on Netflix?
I did say Amazon Prime Video. So, yes. Sorry, we were talking off mic about... I've kind of gotten this feeling sort of with... Band-Aid and Kleenex. When we ask for a Band-Aid, we don't necessarily, it doesn't have to be Band-Aid brand. It just needs, we all know what it is. We all know what it is. So at this point, when someone goes, yeah, I'll wait for it to come on Netflix, what we really mean is I'll wait for it to be streaming. But at this point, yeah, it's, as Daryl pointed out, Netflix is sort of synonymous with streaming. So it sort of covers that. And I have not been waiting for it to come on streaming. But I needed a good excuse to watch it, and you've weaponized it, so I guess I've got the excuse.
And if it's not, don't worry, I get your DVD. I got you all angles covered, buddy.
No.
Got you wrapped like a burrito. What are we talking about today?
What are we talking about today? Well, we've got the usual new movie talk. We've got Star Wars. Should have queued you up. So you could have done something.
I could have been not going to work my magic over here.
Do we want to do that again?
Let me just arbitrarily pick a sound effect, and let's go.
Star what? There's nothing there.
There's nothing. Let's try it one more time.
Nothing.
You know what?
Nothing. We're not going to do it now. We're not going to do it now. I am so sorry for all of that you just had to listen to us do that. But we got Star Wars. We, of course, have the Cinnamon Challenge. And then for today's conversation, our big topic is the Fave 3 comic book films. We've got Avengers Endgame coming out.
Yes.
So we figured we would sort of come back around, see what comic book films that we hold in the highest of regard.
Highest of high.
I would not be surprised if there was some overlap in our choices, but it's gonna be what it's gonna be.
It's gonna be what it's gonna be. Oh, okay, yeah.
So for you, you were telling me you haven't really seen much recently. What have you been watching?
I forgot there is one movie worth mentioning that I've seen recently. I saw The One Night Only, The Man Who Killed Don Quixote.
Ah, that's
Yes.
right. I had tickets to that, but I had grading to do, and Crystal's birthday's tomorrow, so I went. I like being married to Crystal.
That's
So I'm
why
going
you
to skip the
should've-
movie and get my homework done.
You should have just came with me to the movie, and then you could have all your shopping done out there at Concord Mills, man.
No. Not doing shopping. I have grading to do.
Okay, so you couldn't put off the grading for the birthday
Yes.
thing. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, then. I understand that.
What'd you think?
It was a movie that he finally did.
Oh.
Yeah. I was definitely, for a man who's spent 30 years trying to get this movie done, I was expecting a lot more out of it.
What exactly about it did not work for you?
I didn't
I've heard a lot of really great things about the film.
I didn't like the way they framed this movie. I would have preferred a straight up, give me a Don Quixote movie, which is not what it is at all.
Okay.
So yeah, the framing device he used, I thought was awful, weird, and awkward. And I'm wondering how much of the actors and actresses that dropped out of this movie was due to timing and accidents and whatnot, and how many was just like, no, maybe this isn't the best choice for me. That movie rests solely, firmly on Jonathan Pryce's shoulders. He is the driving force of that entire movie. I couldn't care less until he came into the frame. And then I was like, oh, okay, all right. And then once he actually, quote unquote, becomes Don Quixote, then it's a movie. And that's about a good 30-minute wait for that to happen. Adam Driver wasn't impressed with what he was doing. Like, he's supposed to have the redemptive arc of, oh yeah, man, I started as a jerk and I ended up as something completely different. But there's so much backsliding going on as the movie occurs. That did he really? No, I really don't know. He seemed more like the same fucking person to me, if you ask me, or not far off from the same person at the end. So I thought his arc of whatever it is he was going through was more wasted than anything else.
Interesting.
Direction wise, Gilliam directs the movie very well, but yeah, I wasn't a fan of Adam Driver's character or acting. He's the supposed centerpiece of the movie. I think if your centerpiece falls apart, a good bit of your movie also falls apart. But luckily, Price was there as a heavy supporting, to do the brunt of the load.
Just curious, what films by Gillian have you enjoyed?
Brazil
is
obviously the dopest. I like Zero Theorem. Very few people watched or liked Zero Theorem. He did Imaginarium with Dr. Parnassus.
Yes, he
as
did.
well. I dig on that as well. Time Bandits, I'm a fan of. I'm not a huge fan of Baron Munchausen.
Really?
Yeah.
What's that?
I tried watching it once, and it's been about a decade since I tried, so I'm about due to try again. And
When you say tried, is this like the same way that you've been trying to watch Shazam, where you buy tickets and then skip the movie?
No, it's more like I put it in. It was back in the Netflix days where everybody got the discs or whatever. I was like,
I'm still one of those people.
You're one of the 9.
I got Tea with Dame sitting at the house, waiting for a good excuse to watch it.
Okay, all right. I think it's within the first 20 that I got, and I was like, I'm gonna finally see, because I use Netflix more for just catching up on things that I'd never seen, like things that I was too young to see in theaters. That's where I started off with my Netflix disc, and I was like, I'm gonna check out this Baron Munchausen. I got like maybe 30 or 40 minutes in. I was just like, this is not grabbing me in any way, shape,
So you
or
haven't
form.
finished it?
No. I just
So in a way, you haven't seen it?
I get you. Yeah.
I'm about to
I've not seen
weaponize
it.
that shit now.
Oh no!
I love Baron Munchausen.
What am I
Fucking
doing to
love that.
myself?
So you haven't gotten to Robin Williams yet?
I know. I don't remember Robin Williams at any
Oh
point.
yeah. Oh yeah.
Note
You haven't been to the moon.
Lie next time. I just
That it wasn't my plan to do this. I was honestly just curious because some folks, Terry Gilliam, I think you would agree, is sort of an acquired taste.
Oh yes.
Because his ideas, they either work or they don't. He goes straight at the wall.
Yeah.
To try and get this thing done. I mean, didn't he do The Brothers Grimm?
He did.
Yeah, and that's a film. for me,
Kinda
didn't
weird.
quite.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's not Gilliam.
But they're all weird.
He
They're all
did the
weird.
Fisher King, didn't he?
Did he?
I'm pretty sure he did.
I don't know. I
That
don't know
might be
about
my
that one.
number one Gilliam movie then.
But so it's kind of a thing where if someone you can like, say, Brazil, but that one, the way that it's just put together, and it's so oddball and everything else, it sort of works for a lot of cinephiles. But it's always interesting to see where somebody lies and gives you a sense of, is this just, did it go in too far a direction of, say, Brazil, or was it too straight, more like, say, a Time Bandits, which even then isn't all that straight.
It's just Gilliam straight, not regular,
Yeah.
straight.
So that's why I was curious about asking.
Yeah, it's a film. I think it'll be on one of the streaming services. Maybe it just went straight to for like iTunes and whatnot, Vudu and all that kind of business. I'm not sure where they're putting
Which one?
it at. The Man Who Killed Don Quixote.
Okay, we were talking about a few of them, so I wanted to be sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that one was one night only, and I don't know what the U.S. distribution has been nuts. Amazon was supposed to distribute it for a while. I think that backed out, and I think it's now Screen Media Ventures, if I remember right.
The crappiest thing about it is people have been waiting 3 decades for this movie. They show it one night, and I saw so many tweets about theaters that had bad copies. There was like 2-hour delays watching this. One woman said she drove through a blizzard to check this movie out, and she got there, and they're like, "Nah, copy never arrived." Some dude like skirted like a cyclone that was going on just to find out that his shit was delayed. I feel so bad for those people. I will say this
I agree.
to wrap it up. If you want to watch a good Don Quixote, if you can find it, which is damn near impossible, I'm pretty sure, but if you can find it, TNT did a made-for-TV adaptation with John Lithgow as Don Quixote.
Really?
And it is incredible. I saw it maybe when I was like 16 years old, and I've probably seen it like 10 or 12 times.
Interesting. I am not familiar with that.
Vanessa Williams is Dulcinea. Bob Hoskins, I do believe, is Sancho Panza.
Oh.
Yeah, man. Find it how you can, because I think for me, I've only seen, these are only 2 adaptations of Don Quixote, but that TNT one is the benchmark for me.
It's been decades, but I've seen the version, the musical.
Yeah.
That's the one that I've seen, and I still listen to parts of the soundtrack anyway. In fact, it's the biggest reason I got super excited for Chapter 3, John Wick Parabellum, is because they released that full trailer, and they were using The Impossible Dream in it, and I was like, motherfuckers.
You know how to get me.
Now I need to watch this movie. Now I'm hyped.
Yeah. I am very much all about it. And it's pretty cool that they used Jean Rochefort's original armor from when he did his Don Quixote movie. Jonathan Pryce is in that armor. So that's pretty cool. Yeah, that's a nice little nod to it. So that's it. What have you seen, sir?
I've seen a couple of films, but of the ones worth mentioning, first of all, finally saw Bumblebee. Holy shit, is that amazing?
Yeah, a little Steinfeld action for you.
I had full faith that Travis Knight, coming from Leica, knew how to tell a great emotional story using non-human characters. I mean, looking at Kubo and the Two Strings and the animated paper that he's creating and everything else, all the box trolls, what have you. Leica knows how to tell stories, so I was feeling confident about this. Crystal and I, we were absolutely floored with the sheer number of Easter eggs and references that are put through this thing. This is the Transformers movie we wanted. I have rewatched the opening scene in Cybertron so many times. It is amazing.
Okay.
So definitely recommend that one if you missed it like I did. But 2 films that are out now that I at least want to make mention of. One of them is called Long Lost. It's written and directed by Eric Blomquist. It's not a name you're necessarily going to know. This film is available for streaming right now on Amazon Prime. If you if you are a Prime member, you can watch it for free. It is a thriller with a psychosexual twist, and it's about 2 brothers. They're half brothers. One of them knew about the other. One of them didn't. When their mutual father dies, the one who knew about the other reaches out and says, "Hey, this is who I am. I'd like you to come join me for a weekend at my estate. I'd like to get to know you." And they're very different people, and things sort of escalate over the weekend. And because it's a thriller, it has, we'll call it a twist. Mm-hmm. Something's got to happen. And it's the kind of thing where they breadcrumb it throughout, and when you get to that moment of the height of the escalation, either you're all in or you're all out, and that'll depend on how you respond to this. I
we've been in that
responded.
situation before.
I responded with an incredibly audible, "What the fuck is?" And it was great. It was great. I highly enjoyed it, so I definitely recommend Long Lost. There's Master Z, Ip Man Legacy, which is from Yun Wu Ping. Excuse me.
Legend in the game.
Oh yeah, director, actor, stunt coordinator. Kill Bill.
He did stunts for The Musketeer, a.k.a. the only good thing about The Musketeer.
Yeah, I mean, if he's attached to it, you know it's going to have some great action sequences, and it does. Granted, there's an early action sequence with wire work that doesn't look great. It's just the way that it's executed doesn't look very strong, but the rest of the fight sequences are fantastic. There's actually a duel going on.
Okay.
At one point, and it's fantastic. Michelle Yeoh is in this. Dave Bautista, Tony Jaa has a tiny role in it, but when he shows up, it's great. And he's a
Papa Ben just say "Remember me" and then disappears again.
No, he shows up. There's a mini fight in the beginning, and then he shows up later in the film. But you're kind of going, "Why is he in this movie?" As the film goes on, but then you start to realize why, and it's a little twisty. It's more of a crime drama than it is an action film.
All right.
So keep that in mind. It's a little slower. It's got a lot of characters. It's about an hour 45, hour 48.
Sold.
If you keep in mind that it's a drama, if you keep in mind it's more like the original Ip Man out of the Ip Man series that came out with Donnie Yen. They've done 3 films. Apparently, they're coming out with a 4th.
Oh, God.
And this is sort of an offshoot of that universe. Now, I've only seen Ip Man 1. I haven't had the chance to see Ip Man 2 and 3, and I've wanted to for years. And you don't have to have seen any of those films in order to understand this one.
Word.
Does it help? Yes, but you don't necessarily have to. And I enjoyed it a lot. Highly recommend. It is screening in select theaters. It's not screening in Charlotte, but a lot of the bigger markets, Atlanta and Pittsburgh, New York. Yeah. But I suspect that it'll be expanding. And then coming out on the 17th is a film called Breakthrough. This is directed by Roxanne Dawson. She's actually done a lot of television and film. Primarily what a lot of folks will know her from, particularly because of her lead, Chrissy Metz, I believe, from This Is Us.
Okay, yeah.
So the actress is from that show, and Roxanne has directed numerous episodes of that as well. But it's based on a true story. The film itself is taking its lead from the book that was written, but about a young boy who, I think it was winter of 2015, fell through the ice in Missouri, and it took them 20 minutes to find the body. And after 45 total minutes since he fell in, he was going to be pronounced dead. His mother prayed over her, and a pulse showed up.
That's right.
And he is literally a medical miracle. There's no understanding, according to the film anyway, of how he came out so miraculously and really should have died. The film is faith-based, as you would expect. However, I found it to be a lot more secular than I expected.
All right.
And so I think general audiences, this isn't just a film that's coming out before Easter to be about, the resurrection and what have you, though it will tie into that and has some moments which, as I am not part of the faith, I found to be could have been briefer.
Okay.
Could have gotten the same message across without having done it.
At any point in this movie, sorry to interrupt.
Sure.
Does Mike Coulter say "Sweet Christmas"?
He does not.
Wasted.
It is, and I'll tell you off mic probably why he doesn't. But
Sweet Easter.
Yes. No, that doesn't have any either. Sorry, guys.
I tried.
But it does have a fantastic cast. Topher Grace in particular, he has this wonderful ability to be an absolute asshole and yet incredibly sweet and charming at the same time.
That's what his bread and butter is, man.
It really is,
Yeah.
and he does that really well here. I mean, the whole cast, honestly. Dennis Haysbert shows up. You should have the audience that I was watching this thing with. Dennis Haysbert showed up, and they're going, "That's the
Allstate?
It is.
This
It's
is
that.
Allstate.
I mean, seriously, he shows up, and everybody's like, "Wait a minute!" And you could audibly through the theater. But
Who knew Dennis Haysbert was a legend?
he just is now.
He was a president for a while.
Yeah. So. It does have a fantastic cast. I actually would recommend this film whether you are looking for something to take the family to for around Easter, or if you're just looking for a film that does sort of a counter programming with everything else that's out in theaters right now. So I definitely would recommend those. Those are the 4 that are certainly worth mentioning right now.
I have my Easter tradition when it comes to film. I've watched Blazing Saddles every year.
Blazing Saddles?
Yep. Every
Okay.
year since I want to say like 2008.
Okay.
I've watched Blazing Saddles for
Please
years.
explain that.
I think it was either 08 or 07. I think it was 08. My aforementioned best friend, who was late as all get out to Game of Thrones, his wife got to the
She was
base.
resurrected?
She was. She got to the base we were at like a full year and some change before he
Did they belong to you?
What?
Did all of your base belong to you?
Yes, it's my base. It's all
Okay.
my base. So we hung out heavy until he got there, and it was Easter. Neither one of us had anything to do, and we were chit-chatting, and I mentioned Blazing Saddles. I think I had threw out like a reference. She's like, I don't understand what that is. And I was like, how have you not seen Blazing Saddles? And she was like, well, there's nothing else happening today, so swing by, pick up some food, and go and bring Blazing Saddles. And so I got us crispy chicken sandwiches from Wendy's, and we sat and watched Blazing Saddles. So every single year we eat. Wherever we are in the world, we eat a crispy chicken sandwich at some point in the day and watch most, if not all, of Blazing Saddles.
Well, that's really adorable.
It is.
That's kind of great.
It's weird, but
Awesome.
it works.
Hey. Well, speaking of resurrections, I need to ask you a question.
Yes, I have been twice.
Huh?
Resurrected that.
Oh,
is.
you've been resurrected twice?
Yeah.
Lord of Light's got plans for you, do they?
Only if it's Melisandre.
Okay, let me just say, quick side note, because I was going to use that to go into Star Wars. We're going to talk about you, the Rise of Skywalker. But Chris, so today's the 14th that we're recording this. Tomorrow's the 15th. It's Crystal's birthday. Happy birthday, Crystal.
Woohoo!
And
Happy tax day, Crystal.
yeah, no happy tax day ever.
But as soon as I leave here, I'm going to be depressed.
Yes. Yeah. Well. Oh, is it because you missed me? No. Let's not go down that right. Anyway, but tonight, Game of Thrones is coming back.
That is.
And all through Charlotte and larger Charlotte area for the last few days, there have been nothing but massive storms, and all Crystal has gone is Game of Thrones is coming back tonight, and the worst of the storm is hitting us. So it's
Hopefully it will be okay. Hopefully the White Walkers aren't rolling in with that storm.
that would be kind of nice. You know, we don't have any flaming swords to fight them off with.
You mean you don't have any flaming swords to fight them off with?
I did, in fact, think I said we do not.
Oh, we as in the Davison family.
Yes,
oh,
we do not.
'Cause I keep one in every room. You never know.
No wonder it's so hot at your place.
No
wonder.
Yeah, it's, oh man, I can't wait for Twitter tomorrow. It's going to be a Twitter about Game of Thrones, I'm sure.
So, Star Wars.
Yes.
Celebration is going on, and they have released the first look at Star Wars Episode 9. Now, I am one of the few people that loved The Last Jedi for primarily for most of the things people, the whether it's a vocal majority or a vocal minority that hated it, I loved it for all of those reasons. Almost all of them.
Okay.
Canto Bight, I think we've discussed before. Even that it drags a little bit, but it's incredibly necessary. It is incredibly necessary for the overall arc of the film, which is, I think, leading us back towards a sort of prequel idea of the Jedi, which is that it's not about the Skywalkers. This is the Skywalker saga, but it's not about the Skywalkers in terms of the only Jedis. That it sort of reminds us that anyone can be a Jedi. And if you go back to the prequels, there were tons of them.
There were tons of them.
Although
Darth Vader took care of that at the end of Rogue One real quick.
Yeah, except, as has been
Or
mentioned
Episode 3.
by quite a few Star Wars fanatics, my friend Adam Frazier, local film critic and screenwriter, he did co-write horror film Feral that came out a few years ago.
Word.
Do check that out, guys. It's actually quite good. But as he pointed out, Order 66, it was a pretty terrible order because Jedi keep popping up that were supposedly dead through Rebels and all this other stuff. They just keep bringing these guys back. So apparently,
Well, I just assumed those were all dudes who just didn't have any stormtroopers around them at the time. Like, I feel like Order 66 was effective for
younglings.
right there. Oh, no. Anakin was great for younglings. Yeah, Order 66 was great for anybody who was around stormtroopers. But if you happen to be off doing some weird remote shit, then yeah, it didn't work too much to your advantage. And then over the years, good old Darth Vader made sure he picked them off one by one.
Except apparently not, because there's more of them in the Disney Plus streaming service universe.
It's just like extras in Lost that keep sneaking
It's all been purgatory.
Keep sneaking in.
So we're getting The Rise of Skywalker, which I have thoughts on the name. I'm curious if it's going to be literal or if it's going to be thematic, because the end of The Last Jedi did in fact see Luke dying, and we hear his voice. So either he's showing up as a Force ghost to cause trouble in the way that Yoda does, which would be amazing because I love Yoda.
Yeah.
He set fire to the tree and giggled the hell out of it. It's like Luke has learned shit, but he's getting there. He's getting there. So I'm wondering if it's thematic, the Rise of Skywalker, it's the redemptive nature of the Skywalker name, or if it's going to be something more literal. However, Palpatine's back.
Yeah.
Now, how do you feel about Palpatine being back?
I'm so interested in seeing how it is they bring him back. I think that's the peak of my curiosity is how the fuck are they going to do this?
Force Ghost?
I mean, if it is just a Force Ghost influencing Kylo Ren, which that's the case, cool. Make him some color other than blue. Make him a red Force Ghost. I mean, if he's back physically, I mean, he did give us the heads up in Episode 3 that you can overcome death. Darth Plagueis the Wise did it. He's the one who tells the whole damn story. So if he's figured out a way, if anybody figured out a way, it's going to be fucking Palpatine. So yeah, I'm curious in how they bring him back. I'm satisfied with Force Ghost because I think that'll be an interesting spin of do they get to come back? Did he find Jedi heaven? I guess like where the Force Ghosts chill and hang out. Or is he in Jedi hell? What's that like? So yeah, seeing a ghost pop up from the other side of things, other side of the Force would be interesting. Or if he's back physically, I am still 100% okay with that. They'll cause more havoc and mayhem and whatever the case may be. Was he the one influencing Snoke this whole time? Theories have been out for that for years. And I was like, that doesn't make any sense. And then I heard that laugh at the end, and I was like, fuck, they might have been right this whole time. So, yeah, I'm very interested to see how they do this.
There was a theory that someone put forth on Twitter. I forget who, so I apologize. I can't provide attribution. But the notion that Palpatine, as we found out in the prequels, he was behind this the whole time.
Right.
He was manipulating the Jedi. He was manipulating everybody. He was one step ahead. I mean, he's a really smart guy.
Yeah.
I mean, because I was grading yesterday, I put on The Force Awakens, I put on Last Jedi, and then I went to Return.
of the Jedi.
So I watched all three, and Return, the Emperor's the one behind getting the rebels to Endor in the first place. He's the one that fed them the information.
Fake information. Oh, no, the other information was the fake information.
Yeah, because he was trying to bring them there, lure them in, and it was a trap. It was a trap, and of course, our heroes being the heroes, they succeeded, which they have done in every film, except for anything Palpatine's been a part of, and Last Jedi.
I was saying, Last Jedi is all about failure. That's what the theme of that movie is. It's failure.
Absolutely. I mean, they triumph in the sense of they live, and the message succeeds, but they screw up a lot, and these heroes needed that. The heroes that we had before. Anyway, that's literally an entire podcast we could have.
Yeah.
But I sort of loved the notion that Palpatine would show up in this one as the last film in the Skywalker saga to be this one villain that 3 generations
had to fight.
He has touched. I find that aspect thematically interesting.
Word.
For the whole thing. I unfortunately also see it as a step backward from what Ryan Johnson did in Last Jedi. Getting rid of Snoke immediately was fucking brilliant. Because, but who's Snoke? And we need no, you don't need an emperor. We're building up Ben Solo as Rilo Ken being this horrible, just terrible person. Let this story be about him trying to become Vader.
Right.
But I'm a little concerned that it's going to end up being redemptive for him in some way or another, even if it just goes the way of his grandfather, where it's a last minute, but I need to save Rey. And then he dies by electrocution from the Emperor.
I think that might be what the case is, a redemptive arc. Like I said on Facebook and Twitter, Force Awakens is obviously Rey's story. Mm-hmm. It's awakening within her. The Last Jedi being plural, is Kylo and Rey, and you see that they have very strong ties in the movie.
Yep.
I think was it The Rise of Skywalker would be the good in Kylo Ren, which we saw him admit in The Force Awakens that pull to the good, which we never seen a guy from the bad side pull to being good. We'd only seen the opposite. I'm not sure that was thoroughly stomped out when he clapped up Pops, but yeah, if that pull to the good keeps calling him and he ends up then dying more as Ben Solo, who has Skywalker blood in him, rather as dying as Kylo Ren, I wouldn't be surprised if that's what happens. And I'd be okay with it. And he will not ever get redemption for the killing of my favorite character, one of my favorite characters of all time.
Even if he wanted it? Even if he wanted to die?
Even if he wanted to die, you don't kill Han Solo.
Yeah,
you
but
write him out.
Lando
you don't kill him.
Ship
right.
back.
Yeah, that's why he's laughing in the trailer. He played the long game. The long game of Sabak.
That is how Lando works. Actually, one of the things that I loved from Celebration is when Billy D. Williams when he got a mic. And I forget if he was asked a question or if he just went to go respond to somebody else's, but he brought up the fact that people yell at Billy D for what Lando did.
Yeah.
And I loved Billy's response as he brings this up and going, did anyone die?
Yeah.
Did anyone die when Lando does what Lando does?
He explained it very eloquently.
Absolutely, because, Lando's in a tough spot when Darth frickin' Vader shows up and goes, don't make me change the deal again.
Yeah, he's like, what was I supposed to do?
Yeah.
Darth Vader and his cronies showed up. They put me in a tough spot. I had to sell them out in order to save all of Cloud City. I've been yelling this from the cloud tops for years now. And people are like, buddy showed out Han at the Last Supper. And I'm like, no. I mean, yes, he did, but it was a greater good thing. And I, as being a man of logic, always see the greater good. Like, in game, I would have sacrificed Vision like that. If it meant half the fucking universe didn't get snapped out. Vision wouldn't have even made it through the door and I would have killed him. We don't sacrifice lives. Get out of here. I will sacrifice whatever needs to be sacrificed for the greater good of the people.
Well, let's hope we don't get locked in here at some point. We have to decide who dies.
Well, I don't think
who gets to eat.
That's a greater good. That's just one half of us. I don't think there's any greaters.
It's going to turn into Snowpiercer in here, and we're going to walk out here with missing
get
limbs.
Get a big bushy beard out. I know babies taste best. Which was also in consideration for my top comic book movies.
Really?
Yeah.
Right on.
I like that movie a lot.
It's very good.
Very good.
It's very good.
Man. So many good movies out there. Yeah.
Anyway, but I know I, for one, am very excited. I'm also most excited to hear that Disney is going to stop with Star Wars films for a little while. I don't know how much of that is because of their focus on Disney Plus and all the programming that they're putting over there, or if it's just, let's give it some time to breathe.
I think that's exactly what it is.
Which is a brilliant idea. I get why Marvel is doing film after film after film, and they're part of Disney, so of course you talk about one, you almost feel like you have to talk about the other, which is very different from most studios. A24 releases films all the time, and we're not slow down, A24.
Well, to be fair, this is franchise within franchise. A24 doesn't have franchises.
True. But it's still just, we get inundated with Disney films, and we are now as they're buying everything. But I do like the notion of, let's slow it down a little bit. We don't need a Rogue 2. We don't need...
I think it is in direct response.
Solo 2, no longer Solo.
Yeah, I think it's in a direct response to The Last Jedi and Solo is why they slowed down.
Solo would have fared better in December instead of 6 months.
Would have fared better. It would have gotten time to get the stink out because people, it seems like film Twitter for the most part is excited about Star Wars again. Mm-hmm. That trailer got them where they needed to be, and I think it's because they had time to step back away for a while and let that excitement kind of grow and build again. And Solo also had the unfortunateness of coming off of the toxicity that was The Last Jedi. So it had no favors going into it. It is a decent enough movie. It's like, and it's not in anybody's top 5. It was exactly what I wanted it to be. I wanted some hijinks, some nods and references, and a fun, breezy movie. And that's exactly
I'm sorry, are you
what
talking about The Force Awakens or The Last Jedi? Because The Force Awakens is
no,
a breezy
I'm talking about Solo.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Solo was a fair enough movie. Force Awakens, I love, man. I have no problem with Force Awakens. Everybody's like, it's just Star Wars again. Well, I only got a chance to see Star Wars on the big screen once. So if this is as close as I get to that again, I have no problems with that. Yeah. It was fun. And as soon as I figured out what they were doing there, and I was like, no, okay. That dunce in the crowd is like,
I'll take it.
yeah, I'll take it. But yeah, it would have fared better in December. But yeah, I think they just want to make sure they end it on a high note. Mm-hmm. Everybody's kind of back on the same page. I assume we'll get something in about 3 to 4 years.
And I'd be okay with that.
Yeah.
Let's wait. Let's
as
see
long as they don't
what
come back
other
with a Yoda or
stories.
Kenobi movie, then I'll be good. Come back with a fucking Bounty Hunters movie.
Now that I'd be okay with. So, all right, let's move on into the Cinnamon Challenge. We decided to depress each other unintentionally. Since our topic for the day is comic book films, I went and found I Kill Giants for you. So what did you think about this comic book graphic novel adaptation?
I Kill Giants, directed by Anders Walter, starring...
Oscar-winning. He directed apparently a short called Helium. And
all right, okay. Good on you, Anders. Starring Madison Wolfe, Imogen Poots, our girl Zoe Saldana, presumed dead after the snap. So it's
wait, presumed dead before
the snap. I was trying to.
Her neck snapped.
that snapped.
her neck, her bones.
I was trying to combine like presumed still dead coming back after the snap, because I think that the going theory is if you died before the snap, then that's it for you.
Unless you have the reality gem, in which case, what's up, Quicksilver?
The reality gem's only temporary. It's only, remember, every time he used it, when he left that area, everything went back to normal again. So I'm not sure if the reality gem.
Yeah, but if you've got the reality gem in conjunction with the Infinity Stones, really you can do anything. I'm honestly expecting at the end of Endgame to just see a Justice League Unlimited style ending where everyone just comes running out of the Avengers thing.
I'm expecting to see the Justice League at the end of
Endgame. Oh, have they been resurrected as well?
yeah.
Sorry.
From the death of Zack Snyder. Yeah, I Killed Giants. Boy, this movie was, it was rough for me. But that damn third act saved everything. I was struggling to get there. I was like, I just don't care about this. The bully was just absolutely. My first thought was that I don't know why it just bothered me so much, but that the bully was just mean to be fucking mean for no discernible reason. And I'm like, well, I guess that's how bullies in high school kind of are. That's definitely how Biff Tannen was. I mean, no discernible reason of why he was just so mad at everybody all the time. But it's kind of flat in one note and got on my nerves a little bit. And then even the main girl got on my nerves a lot. And I'm just like, Jesus, you killed me. The person I felt sorry for the most was her poor sister. Mm-hmm. God, her poor sister was the one.
Imogen Poots.
Imogen Poots. Yeah, Karen. Karen was just trying her hardest to keep everything somewhat mildly together, working, cooking food, doing all this kind of stuff. And the whole time, you're like, "What the fuck are his parents at?" That's the one I connected and bonded and identify with the most. I don't know if the audience was supposed to bond with what was her name? Barbara. Mm-hmm. I don't know if we were supposed to bond with Barbara because she wasn't fucking doing it for me. But that sister didn't. It was a slog to get through. I loved, Zoe Saldana playing that softer role of, look, I'm just trying to. You need allies in this school because you don't have any. You ostracized the one friend that you had. I'm trying to do my best. I've stuck my neck out for you. But that third act, man, when you realize that the Giants are pretty much just a metaphor for whatever sickness it is her mother had, that's when things turned for me, and I was like, oh, this becomes something a little bit better than what it was before. I think the third act really saves that movie, and that's where you get some emotion out of it. And I killed you. That means my mother gets to be okay, all right? No, that's just not how it works. My question for you is, do you think that giant actually?
Do I think the Giants are real?
No, Giants aren't real. Okay. Definitely not real.
Oh, they're not?
I don't think so.
Thanks for spoiling that for me.
Oh, stop.
Next, you're going to say unicorns aren't real.
Do you think that giant that represented that sickness was going to be the death blow for her mom? And that her killing that giant helped stave away mom's sickness for a little bit, enough for her to get a little bit better?
I think because, and for those of you that aren't aware, I Kill Giants is a story about grief.
Yes.
And it's about a girl, Barbara, who is going around town believing that she's protecting the town from giants. Mm-hmm. And so she's putting up wards, she's putting up weapons, she's building things, what have you, and it's just how she is sort of processing her grief. And do I think that her fighting the giant in some way staves off anything? No. No.
Okay.
No. I disagree with you only in the sense of the third act for me is kind of where it lost me a little bit. The first two acts I enjoyed a lot. I enjoyed the fact that we couldn't tell if the giants were real, the giants weren't.
Yeah.
And the further that you get into the film, the more I don't want to call it psychosis, but her delusion. There we go. Because of how she's processing it, it becomes more real to her,
Yeah.
and it becomes more fantastical, which is beautiful in the way that they execute it. But for me, I felt like it didn't have the emotional punch that we needed to really connect with Barbara. As you said, it was hard to connect with her. In the first two parts, I had no issue with, but in the third, it just didn't land. I felt the way that it needed to. It certainly didn't help that the previous year I'd seen A Monster Calls, and that film is just, it still breaks my heart.
Word.
And if you haven't seen that, highly recommend. But I'm glad that third act really did work.
Yeah, it reeled me in. It reeled me in a big bad way, and it was enough. Apparently, this is how Shazam is. It was enough for me to give the movie a thumbs up on my end, man.
Right.
And I like to see more from the actress that played Barbara. See what she's up to nowadays.
Right on.
But nowadays, the movie came out like 3-4 years ago.
What, I Kill Giants?
Yeah.
No, it's this is 2019. I think that was 2018.
Really? Oh, okay.
It was either 2017 or 2018. It's recent.
Recent enough.
It is recent enough.
Cool. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I actually talked about I Kill Giants on this podcast, which we started July of last year,
Boom.
I believe.
Way to tie it all. Yeah, 2017. Way to tie it all back there, Doug.
Yeah, not a problem. Here to help. For my film, you challenged me to Destroyer, which is, and I hope I pronounced this right, Karen Kusama,
That's how I pronounced it.
which starred Nicole Kidman. Now, this was a film that came out, I want to say late 2018. It was
Christmas Day.
It had done some festival stuff before that, but then, of course, it did hit nationwide, or at least in select theaters nationwide, on the 25th of December. Nicole Kidman is the star of this film. She is the thing keeping it all together, and I totally understand why there was talk about her performance coming out of this film. Nicole Kidman is fantastic, and the work that they did to both age her up and age her down is phenomenal.
Yeah.
It really is. They of all... I mean, she also did Aquaman, and she looked better in this as a aged-down Nicole Kidman than I think she did as Atlanta.
Yeah,
Atlanta. Pronounce that right? In Aquaman. But it's a different type of CG and different type of look and whatever else. But for those of you that don't know, Destroyer, it's centered around an LAPD detective who is having a shitty day. And her past as an undercover operative hits the present, and what she did in the past she still hasn't gotten over. And it's sort of dealing with that as the past and the present collide. This has got Sebastian Stan. Is it Tatiana Maslany?
You're asking the wrong dude on that one.
Okay,
Luckily, we have Tatiana. Come on in.
I never watched Orphan Black, so I don't really know. Bradley Whitford, Toby Kebbell.
Yeah.
Who is not only a strong actor, he was also in A Monster Calls. He was in King Kong, Skull Island. He was in Kong, Skull Island, who also played King Kong. He does a lot of motion capture work for various apes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And also Scoot McNairy. It's got a fantastic cast. Many of them are used very well. The execution of the story is interesting. In the way that it's told, and I'm not going to get into spoiler territory at all with this film, but the way that it's told, can't tell if it's her remembering things or if it's just showing us what happened to color the relationships between characters as she's trying to track down her
target.
Yeah. Sure, we'll go with target.
Suspect.
Strangely enough, though, it was the ending that really brought me back into this film.
Yeah, okay.
It is, and I mean the literal ending. The way that it's done, the way that that Karen has put this all together, that is what hit me. that is where I really started to feel the emotionality of the performance, and really got a sense of how everything that we just seen, the way that it was structured, it was more than just style.
Yeah.
It was really telling a compelling narrative in a way that sort of colored everything that you'd seen before in a very different way. Excuse me. I highly enjoyed it, much more so than I expected, and it's mostly because of that ending. And it was really surprising to see that everything that Karen has been a part of, she's directed The Invitation, which, while I haven't seen it, I heard is fantastic. Jennifer's Body, I didn't enjoy a whole lot, but I totally get why she did that. Girl Fight, I mean, it's what put Michelle Rodriguez more or less on the map. Aeon Flux.
This is what kills me. I was watching the first time I was watching the movie, I was like, man, is Nicole Kidman doing her best Charlize Theron impersonation. And then I went and looked up the director's resume, and I was like, oh, she's directed Charlize Theron. And I'm like, man, I wonder if she wanted Charlize for this movie, just couldn't get her and got Nicole Kidman instead.
Actually, I think it would have been both actresses are incredibly strong and capable in various genres.
Yeah.
And I think Nicole Kidman was perfect for this.
Yeah.
Charlize, while a great actress, it would have been a different film had she been in it. And at no point did I have that same feeling of, man, it feels like this. Whereas, say, watching BlacKkKlansman, I didn't realize, and we've talked about this, that John David Washington is Denzel's son. And I was watching the movie going, I really feel like Spike wanted Denzel for this, and so he got the next best thing.
Yeah, the next youngest thing.
Yeah.
He went a generation down.
Because John, having never seen him before and not realizing the connection between the two, I was watching him and going, he really feels like Denzel. Yeah. Well, apple tree.
He studied the school of dad.
and mom. And mom. His mom's an actress as well.
I think The Destroyer is about 2 minutes too long.
Really?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I remember this correctly. So we start with her in the car, the bridge, the overpass, whatever that is, and the ending is pretty much in the same area, and they have the slow motion of the kid doing the kickflip on the skateboard.
Yeah, I'm still trying to figure out the purpose of that.
I don't think there really is a purpose. It's just kids skateboarding under the
life
overpass.
goes on.
Yeah. If you listen the beginning of the movie, and you kind of have to know what you're listening for. Not a single kid lands a single trick, because you hear a board hit and then kind of scatter. You're like, well, obviously that trick didn't go as planned. But at the very end, that slow motion kickflip, whatever kid it is nails it perfectly. I would have liked if they just cut to black right after he nailed that. The sense of somebody accomplishing something in this movie.
Well, something did get accomplished.
Mighty many things got accomplished. I love the hell out of this movie.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, seeing as Karen did direct Aeon Flux, it seems like a wonderful segue straight into our main topic of the day, which is comic book films. And Aeon Flux, while granted was an anime, which was then adapted, I don't think it was
Liquid Television.
Own that series. I loved Aeon Flux. May she rest in peace. Because,
man,
she never survived.
Yeah, I love ever. That is some of my favorite shorts.
It really was mine, too. Honestly was. So we're talking comic book films. We're in the run-up to Endgame. We're in the Endgame now. It is the 14th, which means the movie is coming out in 12 days. 11 if you go by the 25th, which I am.
Yeah, I mean, that's the day that you can sit down in theaters and see it. I'm making sure that I buckle my seatbelt. I look both ways when I cross the street. I'm eating healthy right now.
Yes.
I will do everything I need to do to make sure I stay alive for the next week and a half until I can see Endgame. After that, do with my body what you will.
I can appreciate that.
Yeah.
I will go see the movie, come home, kiss my son, and then never see him again.
and just diffuse into nothingness. Dust away, maybe.
I would prefer more of a fadeaway Luke Skywalker style, but, whatever.
Don't you forget about me. And your clothes just fold over. Why is that freeze framed in the living room?
I just put my arm up, fist punch, like Hot Rod. Now, okay, so at least for me, honorable mentions, The Phantom, Dick Tracy, 300, because 300 is a badass, amazing film. X-Men 2, Avengers. I would put on an honorable mention Black Panther and Wonder Woman.
Damn it, you didn't tell me we were doing honorable mentions.
Surprise. So, because when I say honorable mentions, these are films that didn't make it into my top, but these are the kinds of films, it's not just modern stuff. We've been getting comic book movies for decades, for absolute decades, and we're not even talking about the 70s because we've had serials. There were serials shown in theaters. Shazam, under the name of Captain Marvel, was shown in theaters. We've had radio shows with The Shadow. We've had radio shows with Dick Tracy and a number of others.
Good old Dick Tracy.
Which I forget if it was the strip before the radio show or the radio show after the strip.
I thought it was the strip before.
So there's all kinds of ways. Richie Rich, comic book movie. Garfield.
Right.
So we've got all these kinds of films. So narrowing down what I would consider my favorites was incredibly hard because even now, if you were like, man, I have not seen The Ghost Who Walks in some time, I would go home and put that DVD in.
Okay. All right.
That movie is a shit ton of fun.
Yeah.
I love Billy Zane. Billy Zane's in a movie. I dig it. My favorite part of Zoolander is when Billy Zane shows up out of nowhere.
Your friend Billy Zane, he's cool.
And he just shows up and it's like, I got your back. So I love it. Billy Zane shows up, I'm a happy man. So what is your number 3?
Well, if we're just throwing out honorable mentions all willy-nilly.
Willy-nilly.
All William-nilliam. I'm going to give a couple shout-outs to Scott Pilgrim vs. the World.
Oh, yeah.
Snowpiercer, the aforementioned, like you said,
Absolutely.
Avengers. Road to Perdition as well. People forget is a comic book movie. My number 3, speaking of Endgame, is Avengers Infinity War.
Nice.
Yes. For a couple of reasons. I'm not going to say it sets the stage. Well, yes, it does set the stage for Endgame.
It absolutely does. There's no snap.
Yeah, there's no Endgame.
There's no Endgame.
There's only one other time I can think of in 21 movies the villain has actually succeeded with his plans.
He's not the villain. He's the hero in that movie.
Oh, okay. Then if you're a nihilist of some kind. The only other time a villain succeeded was Baron Zemo, which people don't give him enough credit for succeeding in his plan of breaking up the Avengers.
That's true.
Thanos, like, God bless that madman, he did it. Well, I think the actual snap was poorly done. I think I liked a little bit more dramatic lead up, but they just kind of like, ha, you should have aimed for the head.
That wasn't drama?
No, the you should have aimed for the head is a good line, but then it's just like, I would have liked just some more tension right there building up for it.
I thought the fake out of, they're going to beat him.
Oh, no, never for any amount of time did I think. Having the villain have all his devices without doing it, I think would have been incredibly cheap. Incredibly cheap. Because all they talk about is the after effects, the after effects, the after effects. We had to see those after effects.
Yeah.
Every once in a while, heroes got to lose. They just lost at the worst possible time on the worst possible villain. But the Russos, man, I think they deserve all the praise. They juggled that cast impeccably, man. Everyone gets their screen time. Those who got shorted, I'm assuming, will get more screen time in Endgame. So both movies back to back, everything will kind of balance itself out, as all things should be.
Yes.
I think the motion capture with Brolin as Thanos was amazing. The team ups they decided to go with, or some of them were unexpected, but they all worked wonderfully. It looks amazing. I mean, also the visual effects it was nominated for, which I do believe it won a couple. I think Black Panther won a lot of the technical stuff. It's amazing. It's a fun movie, man. It's the heaviness of what that insane madman who, I love a good madman who is just convinced he's doing the right thing while the rest of the world's like, you're fucking psycho for doing this. I love villains that are that self-righteous. Those are the best kinds of villains to me. They're the more deeper fleshed out. And Loki, I thought, for Avengers 1 is kind of a one-note villain. Or especially Thor 1. I deserve this. It's mine. I deserve it. And that's not a motivation for me. Whereas Thanos is like, I am trying to do something that helps all of us. And the conviction that was portrayed there. And I'm like, part of me is like, well, maybe this motherfucker is trying to help us all out. No, he's not. Yeah, there's a lot of ingredients to this stew, and nothing overpowers anything else.
Right on.
What's your number 3?
My number 3, I can't talk about comic book movies without mentioning this film. I just can't do it. Superman the movie, Richard Donner. Deal with it.
I was like, please put a 2 after that. Please put a 2 after that. But nope, Superman.
Because
Donner.
First we needed to believe that a man could fly before we believed that a man could lose his powers by getting into a chamber use his kissing ability to change someone's memory.
Man's got game.
Yeah. We first needed to see him fly around the world and change time that way.
Oh, okay.
That is for me probably as an adult one of the weaker moments. But as
a kid, I was like, "What the fuck is this?"
It's magic because he's Superman, and there shouldn't be magic anyway. But thematically, it made a lot of sense for him to do it that way because a lot of the stuff in Superman is about his involvement in humanity and this lesson that he needs to learn. And this Superman actually learns lessons, even though he has abilities that make no sense, like kissing someone to make them lose their memory. But I don't think you can talk about modern superhero films without mentioning Superman the movie. I think the influence is still being felt today. And I don't mean even with casting of Superman films. I mean, period. Because one of the things that I love about that film is the emotion. It's the pathos. It's the fact that it is a drama that just so happens to have a superhero in it. And I can wax on about that one, but I've talked about it before. So what's your number 2?
My number 2 is The Dark Knight.
Right
it
on.
is the heat of comic book movies. He being possibly the greatest crime drama of all time. I love Heat. Heat is amazing. And The Dark Knight is that. It's a cat and mouse story for all intents and purposes. A cat and mouse story where that mouse is a complete batshit lunatic. I think Heath Ledger's Joker is the best Joker we've gotten so far.
Agreed.
Yeah. We see the briefest hints of detecting happening in that movie, which is something you don't really get with a whole lot of Batman movies. I think they tend to go more action than they do the footwork it takes to get from point A to point B.
Yeah.
I kind of do want a Batman that does some more detecting, which is why I want Batman The Long Halloween so bad, because there's so much detection. The Two-Face is very tacked on, I will say that. He is my favorite Batman villain of all time, Harvey Two-Face. Another reason why I love Long Halloween. And Chris Nolan has come out and said, I just kind of felt like tacking him on there at the very end. And it feels like he felt like he just tacked it on. He was saving both Two-Face and Joker for the third Batman. It's supposed to be the trial of Joker, and that's where the acid gets thrown in Harvey Dent's face and all that kind of good stuff. But for whatever his gut reason told him, which I guess was kind of correct, throw him in this movie. So I thought he was kind of wasted. Just kind of a third act. Hey, look at me, I'm also a bad guy, which kind of muddles and complicates and stretches the movie longer than it needs to be. But just his relationship with Rachel Dawes and all that kind of good stuff. And Alfred's like, this ain't the shit you want, bruh. And just Batman not used to dealing, or anybody in Gotham used to dealing with the likes of Joker. It threw everybody for a loop, including us, the viewers.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
No, it's that
and
film.
It's beautiful looking. Oh, it's beautiful looking.
That film will always have a special place in my heart because that film came out while I was in graduate school. I ended up doing a paper and a presentation on not just the film, but the ARG, the alternate reality campaign that was going on, or augmented. There we go.
Yes.
Augmented reality campaign, which Crystal took part in because she had to go to work in D.C. and they were doing stuff there. She actually got to meet the Vote for Harvey Dent people and got a T-shirt.
I believe in Harvey Dent.
Yep. My number 2, I thought long and hard about this one, particularly because The Dark Knight is so damn good. But I had to go with Logan by James Mangold.
Word.
I love that film. The only thing that I hate about that film, but I understand it completely, is the adamantium bullet. Thematically, it makes sense. It got introduced in Wolverine Origins. I absolutely hated it there because it makes no sense whatsoever. It's made of adamantium. He's got adamantium. It's just going to, hit adamantium against adamantium. We've seen what that looks like in other films. It's not going to kill him. It's not going to ruin his memory. It's not going to do any of that shit that they make it do.
Oh, you crush a rock against the rock like a rock slide. This rock's just breaking and busting up all over the place. One's rock, the other's rock. Enough force, one's going to break up another.
Then how come whenever his claws come together, they don't break?
It's all about force.
Yeah. Excuses after excuses. So thematically, it makes a lot of sense. Sure, physics. But
I just looked at a person who's not even here.
And they didn't agree with you, which was the really weird part. You looked at them and they were like, "Shut up, man." Makes no sense. Physics. So, no, it's just a beautiful film. It is the perfect capper on Hugh Jackman's career. as Wolverine. It does so much in so little. It uses its characters perfectly. And it takes a character that honestly needed to be kept alone and found a way to really end his story with not bloodshed, but with saving lives. It was beautiful.
Excellent.
Number one.
My number one is The Man of Steel. Directed by Zack Snyder.
Okay, this was great, everybody. I'll see you guys later.
2013. No, I'm kidding. It's not The Man of Steel. But it is Watchmen.
Oh.
It's kind of an ipso facto type deal, a transitive deal. If Watchmen, to me, is the greatest comic book story ever, and Watchmen the movie is at sometimes a very direct and literal page-by-page, panel-by-panel adaptation, ipso facto, it ends up being my favorite comic book movie of all time. I love Watchmen. I love that the fact that it's not about the capes and the costumes and the superheroing. It's about the lives and the mental instability in a lot of these superheroes, or what doing this over time will do to a person, a regular, normal human being. Because there wasn't but one superpower person, 1.5 superpower people in the entire movie. I mean, Dr. Manhattan, and you could say Ozymandias.
Yeah.
And it's got giant, crazy, evil schemes, and people unwittingly contributed to this. And there's the mystery of who's killing all these Cape Crusaders or all these costume heroes. And you get your vigilantes or Rorschach, and your reluctance with Silk Spectre, and the ones who pine for older days, like your Night Owl. It's got such a good cast, such a well done cast of people. And I thought, as far as casting, they nailed pretty much everybody except for Ozymandias. I don't know where the fuck they found that guy at. I don't think I've seen him in anything since or before. But yeah, it's beautiful. I think Snyder doesn't understand superheroes. He understands action and how to film it well. He understands how to make a movie look. But I think he had a good enough Bible in The Watchmen that all you had to do was just take what this looks like and make it look like this. And he was able to do that. I mean, it might be one of his best movies, I think, but his weakest efforts, as he didn't have a whole lot of heavy lifting to do. It was all done for him in 1985.
I agree with you on everything except for one thing. He didn't take it page to page. He changes Rorschach's origin story and makes him a straight-up murderer. And I know that it's weird to say, where's the squid? But by not doing the squid, he changed Dr. Manhattan, too.
I understand doing that change, because then they would have to throw in another layer of mystery of all the missing people that were involved in the making of the squid and all that kind of stuff. And you're already talking about a 3-hour movie. Something's got to get cut. I think still destroying Manhattan in whatever way, a bomb makes sense. It's a simple thing. It makes sense. And still using the tachyons to obscure Dr. Manhattan's vision in the future. It worked for me. It was good enough. He's still complicit in the end. He still goes along with the lie.
Yeah. It's the fact that there's a choice of, I'm not going to argue this versus, or I can't stop this, versus I'm going to take responsibility for a thing that I didn't do. And that, to me, it changes the complicity of it.
Okay.
So that's where I would take issue, and that would be a whole other podcast, but we don't have time for that. So I'm going to say my number one, because I don't think we've seen anything like it. You talk about page to page, but sometimes it's about taking that page and using, because film is a different medium, to create something new that honors what came before, where it came from, inspired it. It's Spider-Verse.
All right.
It is Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. I have not seen a comic book movie like this, period.
Word.
And I'm not just talking about because it's animation. I just mean because everything that goes into this film is so deeply thought out, deeply structured. There's so much intention in this film, from the fact that there's no subtitles. So it's just people talking.
Yeah.
And you may not be able to speak the language, but other people will, and that's how people talk. There's no subtitles in regular conversation.
Yeah.
So it makes it feel more natural. It makes it feel like whatever borough that Miles and his family come from. Brooklyn. So there's that. There's the way that he gets bit, and that's when it starts becoming like a comic book movie, where the voiceover gets the bricks, where the colors, the the colors take on their own shape and meaning. One of my favorite shots is at the end of the film when Miles is about to do the shoulder touch on Kingpin, and it's gone from crazy colors of everybody to black and red, and the deeper in you go, it becomes more and more black, and then all of a sudden in big letters it goes, "Hey." and it shifts, and it's all behind Miles, and then when it cuts and there's Miles and Kingpin, everything to the right of the screen is black except for Kingpin's face, and where Miles is, you can see "Hey" right behind him. There is so much thought in detail, and you can watch and rewatch and rewatch and rewatch over and over again and find something new. And having seen the film and then gone and read the Spider-Verse comics, they can do so much more in a sequel that they haven't even touched on, and I can't wait for it. There's nothing like it. I agree with you for your choices, except for Man of Steel. Glad to hear that was a joke. Although, feel free to enjoy that movie. It's totally fine. Anybody who's listening.
You don't know how close it came to making that list.
But Spider-Verse, to me, is pinnacle comic book film.
Oh, there you go. There you have it. There you have it. Those are our top 3.
Top 3?
Comic book films.
I
Boom.
regret nothing. What do you guys think? What do you guys think?
Yeah, let us know what your top 3 are. Yeah.
Yeah, tell us what you guys think about it. What would you put in your top 3? Absolutely.
All right, you got anything else before we wrap this bad boy
up? I got nothing. So you guys behave. Good luck getting your Endgame tickets if you haven't gotten them already. And be sure to hop into Paprika and let us know what you're thinking about not only this show but all the other shows. Support our shows. Support Daryl. Choose Your Own Adventure coming up May 4th. If you're able to come and do that, buy tickets now.